Good morning. Thanks for joining me. Day 14 of Noah's bike build. Time to reflect. Get yourself a cuppa, relax, sit back and join me. We're going to build a race bike simulator. That's a bit of a departure from the bike build, I hear you ask. Well, in the back of my mind, this project was always aimed at Noah when he was old enough to ride it. He's not there yet. As his mum and dad'll vouch. He's just coming up to 9 months old. And he's standing. Fantastic. Every FaceTime, every meet-up call, heartwarming. I long for the day I can travel again and go and meet up with Noah, catch up with those cuddles. Right, back to the bike build. That takes some saying. The bike build, you could say it's almost complete. No, I haven't run it yet, but I take that for granted. I've built that many bikes over the years. There's no engine that dare sit there idle in front of me. It just has to fire up and perform, because it knows I'll just get in there and sort it if it doesn't perform. So the bike is almost finished. One much needed addition of high density race spec seat foam. Another mouthful. This seat foam, self-adhesive, serves two purposes. It hides all my handiwork where I couldn't shut the alloy sheet for the tank and seat unit, and it provides much needed padding for a youngster to sit on when he's trying the bike. You notice in the latest photos it now has an exhaust pipe and expansion box. This was created by myself. I sourced the parts, and it's a cut and shut of these parts. To finish it off, I called on the services of that well-respected two-stroke tuner in the northeast of the UK, Mr. Mick Abbey. If you've had a Yamaha racer, a scooter racer, a sprinter, anything that goes fast and has ports, you'll have heard of Mick Abbey's legendary reputation. I'm lucky enough to know Mick as a friend, and he willingly joined in on this build by just adding the finishing touches to the exhaust system. Thanks Mick, really appreciate it, and I'm sure your magic touch will transform it into an even better bike. So, it has brakes, steering, throttle, exhaust, engine, tyres, wheels. No, it hasn't got a petrol tank yet, but I've got a miniature tank from a model aircraft that will do as a tank just to start up and run it should I so wish. This can be hidden under the alloy tank cover, either within or strapped to the down tube, the box section down tube. It's just a small point, it's just a petrol tank, a reservoir for fuel. This bike isn't going to do any long circuit racing for endurance periods of time. It was always going to be a bike that would just start up, make a noise, capture that two-stroke crackle, excite anybody that liked bikes, and then be switched off before we upset anybody that doesn't like bikes. So, the bike's nearly finished. Noah's coming on fantastic. 300 odd mile away, but growing fast. How can we get the two together at an easy and reliable piece of fun? How about I continue the race bike theme, support the bike so it stands vertically, but has an ability to lean left and right as if you were taking corners on a race track. From that evolved the idea, why not create a race bike simulator? It would need a way of accelerating when you twist the throttle, and I might have figured that out. It would need a way of slowing down, which could either be by applying a brake or just easing off on the throttle, depending on how slow you want to slow down or how quick you want to slow down. And as I said earlier, be supported vertically, because it's not a lightweight toy, it's got a little bit of bulk about it. So be supported vertically for a youngster to sit on and enjoy, but then have the ability to lean left and right approximately 1 inch if you were to measure from the footrest to the ground. So leaning left, the left footrest would drop down 1 inch and the right footrest would lift 1 inch. And of course, leaning right, similar movements. So 1 inch of travel brings into the equation lots of choices. I would like the experience to be similar to a real bike, but without the weight factor being a big concern. And I certainly don't want it to ever topple over, become a hazard. So all of these are constraints in my design. And what is my design? Well, I'm afraid it's all conceptual at present. Even my whiteboard still bears the drawings of original Noah's bike build. So it hasn't even got to that stage where I'm drawing something that I want to build. It's all conceptual at present, and I am open to ideas, and it'd be great if people could share their thoughts. Now, with all concept builds, you have to consider everything and then whittle it down to the ones that work, and they have to work practically, i.e. the parts have to exist or not need costly manufacturing. Ideally, they have to be off-the-shelf parts that may well be used for something else. Normally, these parts for the simulator seem to be, I'm tempted to say, shockers. And the units on a twin shock motorcycle support a rider considerably heavier than a youngster. So they may well be a starting point. Other alternatives, the large coil springs the assist car suspension. So, and then there's even the thought of, in the back of my mind, pneumatics or hydraulics. I have experience of both, and I love the processing of both. Why would you have pneumatics or hydraulics? Well, you could assist the rider in leaning if you were to have a pneumatic unit that extended on one side, but that may be a little too adventurous. It may be that a self-standing bike that only has to move 1 inch to lean just needs simple shock absorber units. Or it may not. I've seen some simulators online and they lean to ridiculous angles with full-size real motorcycles and full-size riders. This isn't the aim of my simulator. My simulator is to take an iPad and to tilt it and that's enough to get the rider round the corner on the race games that I have in mind. This isn't going to be a smash 'em up simulator. There's no gore involved. It's a simulator where any young rider, and I have no in mind, will learn to have fun on a motorcycle while he's growing up. And then when he's old enough, with all my contacts in the racing world, he'll have fun on a race circuit, on a real bike. But that's for the future. So I'm keeping it simple. I know your mind's whirring, considering all of the concepts of what could happen. It's early days for the concept, but this is how my projects start. By putting this out to the world, I'm thinking through the concept and the evolution has started. The bike will not be tore down to the point it won't be a runner. Any throttle cable that I attach to a device to increase the speed on the simulator, any throttle cable will either be replaced or adapted so that it can operate the real throttle on the bike. Similarly, any brake In other words, I won't be compromising the bike authenticity to create this simulator. So, lots to think about, lots to consider. I hope you join me along the way as I take Noah's bike build to the next level. Thanks for watching.